Well, I have to say, what a treat it is to be live on Facebook the day before Thanksgiving. Folks are probably out and about right now, just, getting ready for the long weekend. But I will tell you that it's a lot more than a treat because it's, the eve of the holiday. It is also, as you all will get to meet our guests in a minute. We have double the pleasure. Usually we will interview one organizational leader. That is not the case today. Today is more of a collective interview. And I will tell you that our guests at Earth Lodge will not have it any other way. The spirit of the collective and community is at the core of who they are. But I will not get ahead of myself. I will introduce them in just a sec. First off, I just want to say hello, everyone. My name is Carolina Quesada. I'm with the Nonprofit Partnership, and I want to welcome you to another interview in the series that we started a couple of years ago, a few years ago, actually, titled Our Stories, Our Time. And in this series, we get to interview nonprofit leaders to understand how organizations are navigating through our current times. We'd like to know more about their wins, how they started, what also maybe some of the challenges that they're facing. Because, behind organizations are always individuals and the stories and their life stories and experiences that bring them, to the nonprofit sector. So before I introduce our two guests today, the Nonprofit Partnership wishes to acknowledge and to thank the Port of Long Beach for their generous support of this story and interview series. And with that, please allow me to introduce Queen Hollins, who is the founder and executive director of Earth Lodge, and Yardenna Aaron, who is the chair of the board of directors. So a hearty welcome to both of you. Thank you for joining today.
Thank you for having me, Carolina.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be
Absolutely.
here. Yes.
Thank you. And it's going to be a pleasure for the three of us to engage in this conversation together. But before we get started, could you share with us more about Earth Lodge? Could you give us just a quick summary of what the organization does? And then I'd really like to hear about each of you individually and what brought you to this work today. Either one of you could start.
Well,
Yardenna,
I'll
do you
probably
just
start
want
and
to
say a
give
little
us
bit.
the synopsis?
Yes, I will absolutely, because the Earth Lodge was way back. Named the Earth Lodge, the incarnation that most of the community knows and sees today, is had its metamorphosis. So it's a blessing to have on with, because has been proliferating the concept based here in the West Long Beach community for over 30 years. I came on board going back 13 years. So I'm seasoned, but not 20 plus years, not in the way to where I'll be able to talk about how things were for the initial visit of the space. One thing that has never changed in terms of the intention and focus of the Earth Lodge is its centering Black Southern Indigenous practices. One of the healing technologies that we're both best for is our healing Mother Earth pit. And that concept was started by Queen, who learned that from her grandmother in the backwoods of Mississippi. Now, when Queen tells a story, depending on what you'll hear about how she had a lot of anger coming up at the tail of Jim Crow. But her grandmother, having been raised with the earth, having been a descendant of chattel slavery in the South, where we couldn't even go see the doctor, even if we wanted to. We had to understand the earth. We had to have a deep connection with nature in order just to stay alive, let alone to heal. And so she would have her dig a hole and get in it. She knew that she couldn't take on the macro systems to bring total healing to her grandchild, but she knew who could aid: nature. Nature could support in the healing of our trauma. Nature could help bring balance to the granddaughter to help stop some of the pain in an intergenerational manner. And that is where the basis of the combination of being here on the soil, being of African peoples, and what was created in terms of that what's a good way to put it to explain to the viewers? It was a life or death relationship that Black Southern people had with nature. You had to understand solstices. You had to understand the rhythm of cropping because most of the crops that you were tending were not your own. You had to understand how to make a you had to understand herbs, you had to scavenge and go into the forest and know what was edible and what was not. And so at the Earth Lodge, we're reclaiming that legacy, bringing it present time, making sure that we are able to provide a healing framework that's nature-based, that has indigenous roots and connects to the other indigenous roots of those in our community. So even though we center the Black experience, it's in a multicultural way because we all have something that we can learn from one another. And so Black people rising, all people rising, community first rising, and healing of intergenerational trauma. And so there's a whole host of programming that we do in service to that, but the concept, our angle, and our approach to healing justice, because we have a right. So many people of color, BIPOC people, queer people, trans people, marginalized people, single parenting people, children who have lost their voice or in traumatic situations and are not believed. We have to be able to have sacred space, safe space, and locally accessible space. You know, there's nothing wrong with going out to further places like Ojai, but for a lot of our marginalized communities, those experiences are not accessible financially or transportation wise. And so we blend all of that. Our botanical space has over 25 trees. When you add in the shrubs, the flowers, the plants, over 50. It's a safe haven, not just for the people, but for the flora and fauna, because we've created a mini forest right here in West Long Beach alongside the 710 freeway. When we talk about activism, when we talk about justice, of bringing clean air, of creating a space which is actually space that Queen has caretaken, her family has caretaken for over 50 years, saying, I'm going to bring fresh air as the port expands. This will be our contribution for West Long Beach to be a beacon of clean air and oxygen, cleaning over 2,000 pounds of carbon out of the air. This will be a safe space that's open for BIPOC peoples. This will be a safe space that's open for queer people. This is open for children. This is open for cis females who have experienced patriarchal degradation at home or at work. Come, and it's a safe space for cis males who are in alignment with the rise and balance of the feminine energy on the planet. It's a space for all. And so we welcome continued participation, conversation. I'm happy to be here to talk a little bit more about our work and about our relationship with TMP, because TMP was instrumental in helping us to make the transition to be able to serve more. When we met TMP, we were serving about 300 to 500 people per year. And they were able to offer us services and mentorship on how to run a nonprofit to be able to access more resources, to be able to successfully network with community stakeholders, whether they be government or other nonprofits. And sticking with them has been a very, very beneficial professional and community relationship, as they're Long Beach based as well. So I know I've said enough, but hopefully that paints a more clear picture of who we are. We have an intergenerational village style approach. You're going to see kids, you're going to see elders, you're going to see youth, and hopefully those who are listening who are local, we hope to see you on the grounds one day or out in the community.
And, you know, as you just so eloquently put it, Yardenna, as we continue into our conversation, you know, for the next 25 minutes or so, folks who are watching this, whether they're watching live on Facebook or they're watching a video recording of this interview, you will be able to hear how to get a hold of Earth Lodge, how to contact Yardenna, how to contact, you know, the other team members there. And I just, you know, again, I mean, thank you for all that you said. I think if Queen, if we can just unpack those first 5 minutes introduction, the first 5 minute introduction of Yardenna, you know, we've got this whole interview down, let me tell you. Yardenna, let me just say, as you were describing the story in the beginnings, and you were sharing a little bit more about Queen's origin story almost, you were breaking up just a little bit. You seem to be doing really well now, but I think audioly we captured pretty much everything you said. Queen, thank you again for agreeing to be, part of today's interview. And this is the first time I have the pleasure of meeting you. I don't believe we've met before, but as Yardenna was saying, we've been interacting with Yardenna, with Yatunde, a couple of other members of your staff family as well. And it's been such a pleasure to really see Earthlodge continue to grow not just, its networks, but its impact and its presence in the community. Let's go back, Queen, to the beginnings of your own, healing journey, and when you realized that this particular community really needed to tap back into that legacy that your grandmother, that the women in your family left for you. Can you tell us a little bit more about what seeded Earthlodge here in Long Beach?
Well, I'll expand on the story that Dean shared about my grandmother. Back in the Jim Crow South, we left Long Beach and went to Mississippi and Louisiana every summer. And we, as a rule and as an inheritance, African American people would whip their kids to discipline them. But that whipping came from some of the practices that happened during the enslavement period. And the whipping was to keep you quiet so that you wouldn't be sold and you wouldn't be beaten or you wouldn't be chastised. So rather than do that, she would make me go in the backyard and dig a hole. And she'd make me dig until it was big enough for me to get in it, because she understood the receptive principles of nature. She understood that the earth absorbs energy, and she knew that anger that I felt and the frustration that I felt, she knew that the earth would absorb some of that energy and bring things into balance. So she'd make me sit in the hole with clothes on, and she'd come back and I'd look up at her and kind of give her the side eye, and she'd just kind of tell me, she'd sit there a little longer. You're not ready yet. After about 3 or 4 times, she'd come back and I was sobbing. She knew that the earth had done what it needed to do, because at the core of the earth, there's lava, and there's a spiral, and that spirals at a 432 hertz frequency, which is the frequency of the earth itself. So she knew that once I got it in the pit, that the earth would naturally start to bring me into balance. And she knew that the tears were a sign of releasing some of that anger into the earth. And the earth will compost it, so it's not actually harming the earth, but it would free up and give me the space to even have a conversation, to get in the body and be present, and to have space enough to even try to articulate what I was so angry about. She knew that whipping was not the answer, so she broke that cycle. She broke the cycle with nature. And so I thought to myself, why don't we do this in the backyard? And we can do this with the community. We can all get in the earth pit together and heal whatever is out of balance. So at the center of our pit, we have a fire, and the fire represents transmutation. It's a process of alchemy. It'll change anything you put into the fire. So we release the energies that don't serve us anymore. We call those and throw those into the fire by way of paper. We write down what we want to let go of, and then we put it into the fire. And nobody ever leaves the same way they came in. We call on the elements of nature, and in this case, fire and earth and air, to help us transmute and come back into balance. And much of that transmutation is about generational trauma. It's about fear, shame, self-doubt, low self-worth, sadness, depression, mental illness, addiction, domestic violence. We've seen it all go into the fire pit. And we've also seen that it works, and that it heals people and gives them the space to create something new. Because once you release that energy, now you've got more space to even breathe, to be aware that you're breathing, and to be able to think more clearly that there are other options, that there are other opportunities that you can step into rather than fall into the traditional patterns of generational trauma.
That is
We took
so,
we took
yes.
it to a whole nother level.
And as you're describing that, I mean, there's these vivid images of folks, individuals, there with you in the pit, and going through, kind of this ceremony of, I think, recognizing the harms, physically doing something with it, whether it's writing it on paper, throwing it in the fire. How was it inviting community to do that at first? What were some of the ways that you engaged and really made the space open to those who needed it?
Well, we called for volunteers to come first and help to dig the pit. The pit is
It
a 30,
started with that.
it started with that. And as people were digging, they were feeling that when they came out of the pit, they felt lighter. So that wasn't our intention. Our intention was to dig the pit, which is 35 feet in circumference and about 9 feet deep. So that was our intention. But as Mother Earth would have it, she had something else in mind. As folks were digging, they said, I'm going to come back again. And I'll dig a little bit deeper and dig a little bit deeper. So it was like an excavation of self that happened every single time. And so as we do, it's word of mouth. We pass it to our neighbor, and that neighbor passes it to another neighbor, and the Earth Lodge began to expand.
When did you realize that as more people were hearing about the Earth Lodge, coming to visit with you, when did you realize, wow, we may also need to have activities that are also planned, or programs, or projects that perhaps are ongoing, and people know I can go to the Earth Lodge, or my children can go to the Earth Lodge, or the youth in the community. When was it that you realized, wow, we really need to start to maybe diversify some of the ways that we're engaging folks of different ages and different backgrounds?
Well, the stories were mostly the same. It was a different story, but they were still rooted in pain, grief, lots of grief, addiction, mental imbalances. And so we realized that we needed different programming based on different age groups and based on where people were in their life cycle. It's, like we have a reconciliation circle, we have a youth rites of passage group that ranges from 7 to 26. And so we realized that even at 7, children have begun to accumulate and sprout some of the generational trauma that has been passed down to them. So we try to get them as early as 7 to work on their own ceremony and to really do self-reflection and to offer tools that will help them transform those energies and to be able to deal with those energies in a positive and productive way, in a way that there includes self-love, so there's no harm done to self. And we make them aware of them. We have conversations like, there's some children that say, well, I'm being bullied at school. And so bullying, as we well know, can become generational trauma. And so we nip those things in the bud early on. We offer them the tools. We have something that we call a spiritual toolkit, which has a spritzer, salt bath, little bundle of sage, crystals. And so these tools make them feel empowered. So we offer tools to our community at all ages, because it's very intergenerational. And those tools are applicable for every age because they're rooted and based in nature.
Mm.
And thank you for that. It sounds like, as people were coming to you, as you realized, that you're serving a younger population here, or maybe you're serving adults with different kinds of trauma, that you really tried to meet folks where they are. and enable through the use of tools as you're describing. Yardenna, today, how would you describe then the different programs that Earth Lodge that the Earth Lodge is sponsoring? Queen started to talk about the reconciliation program, the youth rites of passage. Can you give us a kind of an idea of how you've organized and structured your different areas of programming?
Absolutely, absolutely. The evolution of the programming at the Earth Lodge has always expanded to meet community needs, to meet community where they are, to be direct response to community need. But there are some programs that continue annually and anchor our work. And I'll go ahead and name them and give you a brief synopsis of what they are. First and foremost is our community wellness ritual and ceremony. It's seasonal. So one of the first ways of interacting with the community, even going back 20 years, was the full moon ceremony, the seasonal ceremony. For those who participated in our community offerings, you'll know that each and every season we have community healing and wellness circle and ritual and ceremony. And that's one of our mainstays, making sure that our lives are connected with the wisdom and cycles of nature and staying intentional as we live in an urban environment. We also have our gatekeeper leadership training program. That's our health promoter program. Another term is the promotora program. What does that do? That is where I began to interact with the Earth Lodge. 13 years ago, Queen outreached to those who were like-minded in the community and said, hey, if I were in a village setting, I would have begun to transfer my knowledge of who I am and what I do and my offerings to the community starting 20 years ago, because we would have been in a village setting. So now we have to be intentional about it. And that's where she began to lay the framework of the Gatekeeper program, which is a long-term systematic transfer of thinking, practices, and sacred knowledge, Black, Southern, Indigenous-based sacred knowledge, to those who step forward and want to carry on that legacy. And that's where I first came in, when she was laying the actual framework at that time. I won't tell her age, but at that time she did tell us her age. And she said, now that I'm crossing my 5th decade, this is the season in which I am in terms of grooming the next generation of healers. So that's the Gatekeeper Leadership Training Health Promoter program. Queen already shared a bit about the youth rites of passage, realizing that in an urban environment, structured education, making sure that youth have the tools to survive mentally and emotionally, as well as academically, which they get in other areas, was something that was needed. And so that was some of the origins of the Youth Rites of Passage program. We also have our Well at Work program that was born during COVID. We saw that a lot of Black community, queer community, BIPOC, LGBTQA plus community were experiencing disproportionate harm in the economy and their experience, both health-wise and in the economy during COVID. And that's where our healing justice work exponentialized in a new way. And that was also layering on COVID, layering on the proliferation of Black murder with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and everyone who was sacrificing their lives because of the color of their skin during that time and the trauma that that created. And so Well at Work brings together not just the healing justice resources. It's our call to action that you have a right to be well, both at home and at work, free from discrimination, free from retaliation, free from bigotry, free from being passed over when you're qualified for the position, and free from having wage theft. And so we were able to partner with various community leaders. In this case, it was the Southern California Black Worker Hub. We were also in alliance with BHEC, the Black Health Equity Collaborative here in Long Beach, right? In terms of making sure that healing justice is a part of the framework. And so that's another program that we have where we offer education and access to not just education, but agency help to rectify the harms and traumas that our BIPOC and LGBTQIA plus communities experience in the workplace. And one of the final programs that we're experiencing right now is healing into the holidays.
Okay.
Yeah, we want to give a big shout out to Long Beach Gives. That was the platform in which we fundraised this year, was to make sure that we were able to offer this program. And Queen was able to kick that program off just last night with what percentage of you are in your body, right? And so we're offering over 10 to 15 offerings throughout this holiday season. And that is really being hosted and showing the skill set and healing modalities of our Gatekeeper Leadership Program. That's the tie-in, Carolina.
Nice.
Queen brought us together to her signature statement is, what do you have? What you got? What is the medicine that you're bringing? How can it be honed and skilled? And she'll be quick to say, because I might need it someday. Someone in the community will need it someday. So we need to put our best foot forward. And so almost everyone who you see in the lineup are gatekeepers. They've been personally trained and mentored in the style of the Earth Lodge, in the style of community care, community wisdom, and community trauma transformation to bring that forth. So it's an active experience. Our gatekeeper leaders are invited to share their gifts to the world through the Earth Lodge. And that's one of the last programs that we have. So in that, there's bath salts, there's drumming. Everybody's bringing different healing modalities. One of my growing expertises is on the drumming for wellness, drumming for trauma transformation. And so we get a chance to bring what we got here at the Earth Lodge and be our authentic selves and offer it for healing into the community.
And for the people who answer this call, they are also exploring what those gifts are, right? I think they may have an idea of what they want to bring to the table, but the more involved they get, the more capacity they build, the more they start to realize this. To date, about how many healers have you groomed, really? I mean, have you been able to work with, and they're contributing to your programs, but maybe they're contributing to other activities in the community as well? How many healers would you say you've engaged?
Yardenna is a lot better with the numbers than I am. I do it and I don't. I just move on to the next thing. But I wanted to piggyback on something that you said, Carolina. The premises of the Earth Lodge is for one to step into their innate gifts. We call it "What's Your Magic," and so we've had folks to step. We have in one of our ceremonies. We have a flower cleansing offering where one dips the flower into the water and just kind of puts the flower on their body and allow the healing energy of the flower to help bring them inner peace and groundedness. And the person that Agua Dulce is her name, who started doing that, was scared to death to hold that bowl of flowers in water and walk around. Now they're in the middle of doing a flower deck card. So they have really stepped into their own power around their medicine as a flower keeper. And there's so much potency in, homeopathy with flowers, baths with flowers, sacred herbal pillows with flowers. We could go on and on and on, but they've really stepped above and beyond what I could have even imagined. So we encourage people to step up, to speak out, and to claim, even if they don't believe it and they feel it, and maybe they were told as a child that they could never accomplish that. We kind of hydrate those dreams so that they can begin to grow. And so that's one of our primary goals at the Earth Lodge, for each person to step into their power as fully as possible. And Dean, on the numbers, how many would you say?
Right now, in my count, up to date, there's over 50. This is not updated 100%. For those who are fellows who've gone through the program and are working in other areas. We just graduated. We're going to graduate a cohort within the first 3 months of 2024. We had a new cohort come through, so that was an additional 10 folks. After you do your service, do your trainings, are able to show and demonstrate your offering to the community, you get a chance to be a part of our community use space. that means offering your medicine here at the Earth Lodge. And we're able to do that a lot because of the grants that we've been able to work with TMP to help open up the road to be able to share this in an accessible way. Community. But I just want to put a link. This is just a small showing of everyone who's come through. This is just maybe 7 to 10. So you can kind of see a face with a name on that link. But we're going to be updating that at the beginning of the year. So you'll be able to meet all the folks who have gone through and who are in the community.
Perfect. And for those people who are watching the interview and they're not doing it through Facebook, maybe they're doing it through PadNet or through another venue. What is this a video that can also, is it shared on your website and they can go ahead and access? Do you have a YouTube page?
We do. We have a YouTube page right now. The list of folks who are part of our Healers Network, who are part of our Gatekeepers program. We give the name for both because once you are a fellow for the Gatekeepers program, you're there for life. And then you get the opportunity to join our Healers Network. You can go and access that on our website under our leadership, and you get a chance to see some of the folks with whom we're working with. And we absolutely are up to date and current on our Facebook page and our Instagram page.
Excellent.
And we use YouTube mostly for educational videos. So to get the most up-to-date information, make sure that you stick with Facebook and Instagram.
And what is that? What is your website address again? Yardenna.
It's www.earthlodgecenter.org. Once again, www.earthlodgecenter.org. And you can find us on Facebook at Earthlodge Center for Transformation. And you can find us on Instagram at Earthlodge Center with the number 4 instead of FOR, Transformation, to find our handle on Instagram as well.
Excellent. So for those people who prefer Instagram or who prefer Facebook, there are different ways to keep in touch with you, to follow you. And do you have a preferred email address where, you know, people have inquiries, or maybe there's an organization out there that's listening to this and they really want to connect with you? What would be the best way?
It would be to email us at info@earthlodgecenter.org. Once again, info@earthlodgecenter.org is our community mailbox, and we guarantee that that email will get to the right person in the right place for someone to get back to you.
Excellent. And the team at Earth Lodge is very responsive. So we've always appreciated, you know, working with you as well, and always have enjoyed having you in a lot of the cohort programs, you know, that we sponsor as well, because you're also there to give back to that community of nonprofits. So as we close our interview, and can you believe time flies when you're having so much fun?
It does.
It goes by very, very fast. Would you share with us what's around the corner for Earth Lodge? Do you have any plans as to, you know, how you want to kick off the new year? You already kind of let us know that you are having a cohort that's kind of going through this cohort experience right now, but what else is on the horizon for Earth Lodge?
Queen, you want to hop in or you want me to take that one?
Well, I'm trying to think. We have so much. We want to extend our Youth Rites of Passage program, especially our 18 to 26. When they went through this last July, they were, you know, we really need to do this once a month. We want to come together, sit at the fire. Some of them were really afraid to go to the fire, had never been in that type of setting before, but they felt so uplifted after they left. So we're looking to expand our Youth Rites of Passage program. We're also looking to, as Dean spoke, to start another gatekeeper cohort. We're really excited about that because now we've got 10 other gatekeepers who are now, I guess they would be considered alumni, that get to come in and help us teach that class. We also are partnering with many different schools in the Long Beach Unified School Districts. The schools have now opened wellness centers. And so they're asking for our services in the way of drums, in the way of spiritual toolkits or wellness toolkits, which consist of, again, the salt bath, spritzers, and crystals. And we also offer juicing opportunities. So we're looking forward to going into the junior high and high schools to introduce some of those healing tools. And Dean, you want to add to that if I left a few things off?
Yes. You didn't leave anything off, but one thing that I would add to that as well is we want to continue with our peer-to-peer wellness circles.
Mhm.
We have found that the mental health benefits, the emotional benefits, the community connection benefits of being able to sit in a safe space, in a sacred space, in an intergenerational space, actually, because we're finding that so many people who come to the Earth Lodge are saying that they are not in intergenerational space. It's really homogenous, their experience when they're out in the community. So we're seeing even a growing connection and appreciation of that space. We want to continue to open up for grief. We are often contacted by people who have lost loved ones, by people who have lost pets, by people who have lost housing, by people who have lost their dignity. There's all types of level of grief that is happening in our community, sexual orientation based, race based, gender based. So we want to continue to develop our curriculum at Target on healing the grief that so many are experiencing. And that's one of the impetus for the vision behind Healing for the Holidays. So many people have lost loved ones during COVID. It was the first time during holiday seasons without their loved ones. The tone of family life during holiday took on an even sharper turn. And we're all probably, those who are watching are probably familiar with statistics of increased suicide, increased rates of drug use, especially with fentanyl, very tragic and destructive drugs amongst our young adult and adult population community. And the effect of housing, right? There are many in our community who are still struggling to find affordable, safe, and secure housing. So all of those traumas combined and compound, as well as the workplace traumas that we were talking about. And so we want to make sure that we take that extra step in outreaching to the Black community. We want to take that extra step of outreaching to the BIPOC community, that extra step of outreaching to the LGBTQIA community and the children's community, some of the most vulnerable amongst us, and the cis female community who may still be dealing with some of the negative effects of the patriarchy in their lives, so that they can bring balance, so that this new world, this post-COVID world that's being created, can be one that was better than the one prior to 2020.
Wow, absolutely. Thank you so much. I just want to say again, www.earthlodgecenter.org is going to be, for anyone watching and listening, your hub to really connect with Queen, to connect with Dean as well. So please, please be on the lookout for that website. And Queen, anything else that you would like to say?
Well, I'd like to add to what Dean said. We are also very proud to have eaten from our first successful. We've had many attempts at gardening, but this was our first, this last year, our first successful attempt. We were able to feed our entire community with squash and greens and different herbs. So we look forward to expanding the garden. And we've also started a seed collective. As long as the seeds are organic, non-GMO, we welcome seeds. So if folks have seeds they want to donate to the Earth Lodge,
Oh,
we are
wow.
more than
Great.
happy to start our seed collection. So, should we need them, they'll be available.
Absolutely.
We sometimes, we're not sure how things may look in the future, but
Right.
to be able to go back to the earth, to know how to plant and to know how to garden is a lost skill that so many are embracing again.
If I
Wow,
make a
so many opportunities, sorry, Yardenna, for Earth
Yeah.
Lodge to really support in such different ways, right? Because healing takes on so many different forms, so many different pathways. As we close, Dean, yes, anything you'd like to add?
I just want to give a big thank you and shout out, especially in 2023, for the gatekeepers who've been bringing programming around drumming, drumming for wellness. We have had meditation and sangha. Queen mentioned the community potlucks, a community garden. We have sound bath. We have hands on the land, where community stewards are working with community to have a deeper experience with the earth. Um, all of these are our gatekeepers, in addition to our healing Olympias as well. Just a big thank you to everyone who has done any kind of work here at the Earth Lodge. We've had astrology series, we've had a tapping series, we have young adult circles. So please make sure you sign up for our newsletter. When you go to our website, you'll see a section there to sign up with the newsletter, because in addition to Facebook and Instagram, you'll be able to see all of the offerings that the gatekeepers and Queen herself are offering in the community. And we hope that you're able to participate.
Excellent. Thank you. What a wonderful message to usher in this Thanksgiving season. So thank you. Thank you again. Very grateful for your time today and for all that you do. Queen, it's been such a pleasure meeting you. First time ever. It was virtually, but hopefully next time it'll be in person. And Dean, always, always a pleasure. Everyone watching, please don't forget earthlodgecenter.org is a hub for connection. We'll see you all next time.
Thank you. Thank you.